All right, guys. Start this one here. Hey, guys. All right. So this is about the endocrine system, the part 2. So we will continue our endocrine system by talking about this adrenal gland. So here is the adrenal gland that we have two of these glands. They are located on the top of the kidney, and so here is the this triangular structure, like a little cap located on top of the kidney. If you do the transection, we can see that it has two portions. One is called the cortex, the other one is called the medulla. And you must know that the adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla are very different. Adrenal cortex is the portion that produces the steroid hormone. Adrenal medulla instead is part of the sympathetic nervous system. So this part produces the epinephrine. So these two are very different. Now let's look into the structure. So here is the adrenal glands. Basically, that the outer portion is the adrenal cortex or outer cortex. It produces corticosteroids, and these are steroid hormones. It means that these hormones are basically lipid, and they can penetrate the plasma membrane. So these hormones do not act on the receptor on cells. They act on the receptor in the cell. And if we look into the this layer, we can see that in the cortex, we have three layers: adrenoglomerular, zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and zona reticularis. And these three layers are in the adrenal cortex. And these three layers each one produce its own hormones. Adrenal glomerulosa produce the mineralocorticoids. Zona fasciculata produce glucocorticoids. And the zona reticularis produce androgens. And all these three are steroid hormones. In the inner portion, we have the adrenal medulla, and this one produces the epinephrine, and that is correctly called the catecholamine. That include the epinephrine and norepinephrine. So that's the three layer. So let's look into this cortex, and we can see that these three layers, zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, zona reticularis, each one produced in zona glomerulosa produce the mineralocorticoids. We have about 15% of the hormone produced in the cortex produced from the glomerulosa. They are the mineralocorticoids. 75% of this cortex produce the glucocorticoids, and they are produced from the fasciculata. And androgen, about 10% of these entire hormones are the androgens, and they are produced from the reticularis. So what do you need to know? You need to match. So in the quiz question, you will see that which layer produce mineralocorticoids, which layer produce the glucocorticoids, which layer produce the androgen. And because the quiz question gonna be multiple choice questions, so you don't need to be able to spell the name glomerulosa fasciculata, although it shouldn't be too difficult. At least you need to know the sequence GFR. So you need to, and GFR is the term that's very commonly used in the kidney, right? The glomerulosa filtration rate. And so GFR, you need to know that. You need to memorize that term, that sequence GFR. And so mineral corticoid is from G, glucose. So mineral is about salt, glucose is about sugar, androgen is about sex. So hormone regulate the salt, glucose, and the sex are from GFR respectively. And you need to have a concept that the majority, if we overall talking about these corticosteroids, we basically, the major one is the glucocorticoids, the sugar one. And among all different glucocorticoids, the major one is the cortisol. So here, I just want to let you know that these steroids, these cortex hormone, corticosteroids, are all synthesized from the steroids, cholesterol. So they are all derivatives from the cholesterol. In our body, cholesterol is generally considered that we don't want too much of the cholesterol. But we also need to know that cholesterol has its physiological role. And the major one of the major one is the production of this steroid hormone. Here just showing you that this is the cholesterol, and our three major hormones from these mineralocorticoids, the major ones, the aldosterone. Glucocorticoids, the major one is the cortisol. The androgen, the major one is the DHEA, and they are all basically derived from the cholesterol. Okay, so this could be a quiz question that say aldosterone is derived from which molecule? The option could be the cholesterol, fatty acids, triglycerides, proteins, etc. And you need to choose this one, cholesterol. They are more directly related to the cholesterol. And they basically have the very similar chemical properties as the cholesterol, which means that they can penetrate the cell membrane. So how our body regulates the production of these corticosteroids? To regulate the corticosteroids, the major pathway is the HPA axis. It means that it's a hypothalamus, pituitary, androgen axis. So this will bring back to our last lecture talking about the hypothalamus pituitary hormone. That's the pituitary, anterior pituitary produce the ACTH, and that production is due to the hypothalamus produce the CRH. And ACTH will then flow in the blood and acts on the adrenal cortex. And it will produce the corticosteroids. And here, corticosteroids basically have three groups of hormone: the mineralocorticoids, the glucocorticoids, and the sex hormone. And so that's how we regulate it. later we will learn that what triggers, what increase it. So basically our body will maintain a very stable corticosteroid level. But this level can be adjusted by the initial hypothalamus and the known um, like a influence or the factor to cause this, to adjust this pathway is the chronic stress. So if the person has increased stress, it will produce more CRH, more ACTH, and that lead to produce more corticosteroids. This pathway can also has a negative feedback, meaning that if our body produce too much of the corticosteroids, because in the corticosteroids, the 75% of that hormones are cortisol. So basically that if our body has too much of the cortisol, it will send a negative feedback to the hypothalamus and the pituitary glands to reduce the production of the ACTH. And that way our body, even though we may have an increase, decrease, our body has this mechanism to maintain the level of the corticosteroids to be like a relatively constant level. So that's the regulation of the corticosteroids. Among these three major, among these three corticosteroids, the mineral, the glucocorticoids, and the sex hormone, the mineral corticoids is also regulated by the RAAS, the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone pathway. So that's basically how our body regulates the corticosteroids. We also have this adrenal medulla produce the catecholamines, the epinephrine. That is part of the sympathetic nervous system. So let's say corticosteroids, the regulation is basically derived from this HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, and the hypothalamus produce the CRH, acts on the anterior pituitary gland, which release the ACTH, and then that acts on the adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex then produce the corticosteroids, send a negative feedback to the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary glands to let them know that we have too much, if we have too much. And that way we can regulate. We can kind of keep our body's hormones level to be constant. This pathway can be affected by one of the known factor, which is the stress. So if the body has feel the stress, so basically our body stress can be regulated by the hormone, and can be reflected by the production of the hormone. And that major hormone is, if it's chronic stress, like if it's immediate, like you saw a lion and you need to run, that immediate, urgent, it's gonna be sympathetic. But if it's kind of chronic, like if it's like your boss call you and say that, or you have some like emergency, like school will call you, right? Like something happens and they need to talk to you. You have increased the sympathetic. If it's more like chronic, like you need to see your boss like every day, or you need to see your clients like every day, and you feel that's a stress, then that stress will be reflected by the cortisol in our body. So stress can be detected by our hypothalamus, and the consequence is the increase of the cortisol. Basically, the increase of corticosteroid hormone, both including the mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, and the androgen. But because the 75% of the corticosteroids is the cortisol, so cortisol basically represent what's going on in our body in reflecting to this chronic stress. So our body responds to chronic stress versus the acute stress differently. If it's acute stress, it will activate the sympathetic nervous system to cause the release of norepinephrine and epinephrine and catecholamine, basically, from the adrenal medulla. But if it's the chronic stress, which include the mental, like very busy daily life, or it could be the physical, that you are suffering from very severe like pain or damage or injury, your corticosteroid hormone will be increased. And the major corticosteroid hormone in our body is the glucocorticoids, and the major one of it is the cortisol. So that's how our body reflect to this stress influence. So what's the function of this glucocorticoid? And so basically that function, we can think about how our body would, if you design a body, how would you do that to reflect, to handle the stress, including the mental stress and physical stress. So basically you need more energy, right? If you have this stress, if you don't have enough sleep, if you cannot, you need to be alert, most of the time, then you need energy. So the energy will be the glucose, and that's also reflect the name, the term glucocorticoids. That is about glucose, and that basically the function is to increase blood glucose level. So it will make the glucose very easily available in our body for our cells. And among all other cells, all cells require glucose, but among all others, our brain take the majority, not the majority, but take a lot of glucose and oxygen. So basically our brain has about 5%, something like that, 10% of the body weight, but it takes about 20% of the glucose consumption and 20% of the oxygen. Not like other part of the cell. Neuronal cells do not take the lipid well, so they don't use lipid as their fuel. They purely use glucose. So so basically the glucocorticoids would make this glucose easily available for our brain to use. So it will increase the blood glucose level. And how do the glucocorticoid do it? It basically will cause the glycogenolysis. It will break down the glycogen. Glycogen is the polysaccharide to store the glucose in the body, in the liver and the muscle. So that will break it apart to liberate this glucose into the blood. It will also go through this gluconeogenesis, meaning that it will generate glucose from other fuel. It will use the amino acids, convert it to the glucose. It can also convert the triglyceride into the glucose. So it will generate glucose from other type of the other forms of the fuel in the body. So that way it increases the plasma glucose level. It also induces the immune suppression, anti-inflammation, pain relief. So basically that if the person is in the stress, it has no time to feel the pain or even like the physical stress. It's already painful. Body already endured this damage. And the pain, actually the pain is a protective mechanism to keep our body away from the damage. But if this damage has been around for a long time, then continuing feeling that pain doesn't really make any improvements. Then our glucose will suppress that and reduce inflammation. Inflammation take energy too. We will suppress that and focus on something more important. That's the stress, the source of stress that we need to deal with. It will stabilize the lysosomal membrane, and so it will make this lysosomal to become more stable and to prevent this lysosomal digestive enzyme to kill the cells. So it will maintain the cell. It will also block the calcium absorption in the bone and basically keep the calcium available in the blood. And the side effect is to cause these osteoporosis that is called the steroids-induced osteoporosis. So that's this basically what we will see these these defects in person with Cushing syndrome, that the person have too much of the cortisol, too much of the glucocorticoids. So that's the function of the glucose. So for this cortisol can increase the blood glucose level basically through two major mechanisms. One is the glycogenolysis, and to break down the glycogen to produce the glucose, gluconeogenesis to produce glucose from the amino acids. We have two group of the amino acid. There is one group that can produce glucose. It's called glucogenic amino acid, lactate and triglyceride to produce the glucose. It can also induce the insulin resistance by decreasing this glucose transporter 4, GLUT4, in the plasma membrane. And that way that we will have less of this glucose transporter in the cells. If we have those, they will transport the glucose into the cell, but we don't want that. We want to keep this glucose circulating in the blood. If it's going to the cell, it's gonna be either stored or to be used. And to prevent it, they are not, GLUT4 usually commonly appear on muscle cells and the adipocytes. So we basically don't want shuttle this glucose through GLUT4 into the muscle and the adipocytes. We want to have it. We want to have this glucose circulating in the blood. So cortisol induced insulin resistance and reducing the amount of GLUT4 in the cell membrane in order to keep the glucose in the circulation. It can also induce anti-inflammation, as we mentioned, immune suppression. How does it do it? It basically acts on this enzyme called phospholipase A2. What is this phospholipase A2? Some of you probably feel familiar with this figure. Yes, we talk about this one when we talk about the GFR, when we talk about the non-steroid anti-inflammatory drug, NSAID, such as the ibuprofen. So this is a pathway to produce the hormone called prostaglandin, or chemicals called prostaglandin. And prostaglandin is very important mediator to induce inflammation. So basically the person has inflammation, basically the prostaglandin will increase, and the consequence has so many effects. One of the effects is to increase the vasodilation and to allow more immune cells coming here to induce the immune response. And NSAID, so this pathway, the pathway to produce the prostaglandin start from the membrane phospholipid, convert it to the arachidonic acid through the enzyme called phospholipase A2. Arachidonic acid then convert to the prostaglandin through this enzyme called cyclooxygenase. It's also called COX, COX. Earlier, we learned that this COX can be inhibited by the NSAID in order to reduce the production of the prostaglandin. And today, we learned that in addition to this, cortisol can also prevent this pathway by inhibiting a further upstream target. Cortisol can inhibit the phospholipase A2. And by inhibiting this enzyme, this pathway will be shut down, and we will see less of the prostaglandin. And so that's how cortisol can have the function to suppress the immune reaction in our body. Prostaglandin can also induce pain. So by blocking it, that's why we take this drug if the person has like fever or headache or pain relief, right? The ibuprofen to inhibit the prostaglandin in order to reduce pain. And in addition to the NSAID, cortisol also has very strong function to inhibit the pain, by inhibiting the production of the prostaglandin. So that's another quiz question, like how does cortisol deliver this anti-inflammation? How does it? And it's because that it blocks this enzyme, it inhibits this enzyme phospholipase A2. And the consequence is a reduction of the production of the prostaglandin. All right, so that is the major function of glucocorticoids, the cortisol. Another thing we need to know about this hormone is the circadian rhythm. That means circa means like around, dian means day, so it's happening around a day. Rhythm that this change basically is a daily change within a day. And our body has a lot of this circadian rhythm, a lot of physiological pattern, like our sleep pattern is day after day after day. We follow this throughout our life. And hormone-wise, we have two major hormones showing this very dramatic change throughout a day. Glucocorticoids or cortisol is the major one. So we will typically that the level of the glucocorticoid change very much throughout the day. It's very low during the night and its peak at about 8 a.m. in the morning. So that means that it's basically related to the stress, right? In the morning, you wake up and you need to face the world. You need to kind of like deal with a lot of the stress. You need to prepare your body. You need to pump the glucose into the blood. You need to have this glucose into the brain so you will be alert. You need to have pain relief, right? Suppress your immune system a little bit so you will not feel like you will kind of forget the pain a little bit. So you will be kind of focusing yourself to the daily works. And so we have to pick. And this is another thing that you need to keep in mind, that if you happens to if you will work in the clinical, right, in the future, and if you happen to see or to measure the glucose level, the glucocorticoids level in the blood, one thing you need to keep in mind is what time is the blood drawn from the patient. The early morning versus the 4 p.m. afternoon, it's gonna be very different, okay? So that's the circadian rhythm. While we are talking about the circadian rhythm, I want to bring you another major hormone also showing this circadian rhythm feature, that is the melatonin. Melatonin is another hormone produced from the glands. We didn't really specifically talking about it, but now we mentioned it. It's called pineal gland right here, pineal gland. This is located in very near the hypothalamus, and this is region that produce the melatonin. This gland produce melatonin. So here is the figure showing you that melatonin is different from the cortisol. That melatonin amount is highest during the mid of the night, and the level decrease during the daytime. So that's the cortisol highest during the early morning, about 8 a.m., 9 a.m., and the gradual decrease throughout the day. So that's these two hormones showing very dramatic change throughout a day. And this change is very regular. That's why we call it a rhythm. That's the two hormones showing this circadian rhythm. So that's the glucocorticoids. The next up is the mineralocorticoids. And this is not new to us because we already learned about the aldosterone. The major mineralocorticoid is the aldosterone. And we learned that its function is to act on the collecting tubule and the collecting ducts. And it is to cause the reabsorption of the sodium and the secretion of the potassium. So that's where it acts on the nephron, but not the entire nephron. It acts on the collecting tubule and the collecting ducts. It acts on these principal cells, and in the principal cells, in the luminal side, we have this RMK, the renal outer medullary potassium channel, as well as the ENaC, the epithelium sodium channel. In the basolateral side, we have this typical sodium potassium ATPase. So with these three membrane protein, we have the function, these principal cells, is to reabsorb from the urine, reabsorb the sodium, while secrete the potassium. And the aldosterone will enhance this cycle, enhance this process. Aldosterone will act on the mineralocorticoid receptor, and that will enhance the process to enhance the reabsorption more sodium and secrete more potassium. So that's a function of the, and that's why we call this one a mineral corticoid, because it's about the salt, the mineral, the sodium and the potassium. One thing you also need to you need to keep in mind is that in general, our adrenal cortex is regulated by the ACTH secret from the anterior pituitary gland, as we mentioned earlier. However, these mineralocorticoids, this aldosterone, is also regulated by the renin-angiotensin pathway. So this pathway, we mentioned about it before, that kidney can detect several things: sympathetic pressure reduce, low sodium in the macula densa. That will cause the kidney to produce the renin. Renin will convert angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1 will be converted to angiotensin 2 through the angiotensin conversion enzyme. This one is located in the pulmonary circulation. Angiotensin 2 will then act on the adrenal cortex to produce the aldosterone. So this aldosterone can be regulated by angiotensin 2. So that here is a summary that the regulation of the mineralocorticoids has two parallel pathways. We have this hypothalamus anterior pituitary gland, ACTH, to cause its production. And this pathway applies to all these corticosteroid hormone. However, mineralocorticoids, in addition to this pathway, mineralocorticoids also regulated by the renin-angiotensin aldosterone system. And the next step is the sex hormone, that is the androgen from the GFR reticulosa, glomerulosa, GF fascicularis, reticularis, R, zona reticularis. And the major hormone here is the DHEA. DHEA, though, is a precursor, so it's not a functional hormone. It's a precursor for sex hormone. So this one, DHEA, we can see it in both male and female. So adrenal cortex produce this DHEA in both males and the female. But we all know that sex hormone gonna be very different between male and female. In female, we have the estrogen. In male, we have this testosterone. So in the male, this DHEA will be converted to the testosterone. In the female, it will be converted to the estrogen. So here is a pathway. You can see that original is the cholesterol. That basically is the original source for all this steroid hormone. And it can be converted in the zona reticularis. It will be used to produce the DHEA. In the male, it will be converted to the testosterone. In the female, it will be converted to the estrogen. So here you don't need to memorize all these. Just want to show you that cholesterol produce the aldosterone, the mineralocorticoids, produce the glucocorticoids, the cortisol, as well as the DHEA. So this table, I just want to show you here, showing you that all our adrenocortical hormones are all derived, are all synthesized from this cholesterol. So this is not a protein, this is not triglyceride, this is a derivative of the cholesterol. And you don't need to memorize all these like blocks, these different molecules. You just need to memorize. I just want to show you that the final sex hormone, the testosterone and the estrogen are, DHEA is the precursor of these final products. So this table, this one is a good like remind or review or summary of the adrenal glands. So you need to know that GFR and the hormones related to each zone, the mineral, the glucose, the androgen. And you also kind of need to know that what's the major hormone in the mineral, aldosterone. In the glucose, the major one is the cortisol. The major one for the androgen is the DHEA. This one is in the cortex. In the medulla, it produces the catecholamine, and that basically is part of the sympathetic autonomic nerve system. And all these hormones are regulated by the stress. If it's acute, sympathetic will be reactive, will be active. If it's chronic, the corticosteroid hormone will be activated. So that's the adrenal glands. So let's talk about some pathology, some disease. As we talk in other hormone, if we have too much, if we have too little, what's gonna happen? So the major disease related to over or hyper or hypo adrenal cortical hormone is basically it can be hyper or hypo. If it's hypo, meaning that it's low, the major disease is called the Addison's disease. And this Addison disease have lower corticosteroids, and so the is a primary adrenal insufficiency, and that will show the symptoms including the weakness, easy fatigability, is because that the low cortisol, low glucocorticoids. Low glucocorticoids will cause the low blood glucose level. Low blood glucose level will basically reduce the glucose availability in the blood, and so the lower fuel available for our cells to use. GI system gastrointestinal disturbance is because our body's electrolytes is abnormal, meaning it's because the low mineralocorticoids, low blood pressure is because of the low mineralocorticoids. It doesn't reabsorb enough sodium, low fluid, low CO, low blood pressure. Mental confusion is due to the low glucose. Low blood pressure can also cause that. Low glucose in the brain, for the brain to use, and hyperpigmentation. Now, what is the hyperpigmentation to do with the adrenal insufficiency? It's because that if we have low cortisol, low corticosteroids, then there will be a lower negative feedback. With the lower negative feedback, we're gonna have overproduction of the ACTH. So if we do the blood test, we will see a lower cortisol and high ACTH. Maybe we have a slide to talk about that. That's right here. That's right here. So say we have lower cortisol, and that's the Addison disease. With the lower cortisol, we have less negative feedback. With the less negative feedback, we will have overproduction of the ACTH. ACTH can act like the MSH, the melanocyte stimulating hormone, because part of these proteins can bind on, have the same feature like the MSH to bind on the melanocytes to produce the melanin pigmentation. And so if we have too much of the ACTH will be circulating around in the body. They will be viewed by these melanocytes. These melanocytes are a kind of like skin cells, and they were viewed by this melanocyte as the MSH, will take it and produce more of the melanin, and we will see hyper pigmentation in these patients. So that's hypo, that's the adrenal insufficiency. How about the hyper, too much? The major hyper disease that you probably will see is the Cushing's disease. Cushing is too much of the cortisol, too much of the glucocorticoids. So the patient, this hyper can be due to the body produced like pituitary tumor or tumor in the adrenal glands. So the cells are overproduce too much of this cortisol. It also can be due to the patient who take the cortisol as an as a medicine. So if the patient basically, for example, has the autoimmune disease or some other like immune disease, or the patient received the organ transplantation, they need to suppress their immune system. And one way is to take the cortisol. And if the patient take too much of the cortisol, then this will lead to the Cushing syndrome. We will see that the patient will have stored fats in the cell, so and also the patient may have high risk to develop type 2 because the cortisol can cause more glucose in the blood, and that too much of glucose in the blood for a long time basically is the hyperglycemia, and over time it can have higher chance to develop the type 2 diabetes. Cortisol can also act on the insulin resistance, and that is also enhance the chance to develop the type 2 diabetes. So let's take a look. So these are the symptoms of the Cushing syndrome. And basically that the increased blood glucose, anti-inflammation, immune suppression, pain relief, bone formation inhibition. And so that's the hypo and hyper corticosteroids. We have the Addison disease as well as Cushing's syndrome. So that's the adrenal glands. Now, next one, the last one is the pancreas. So here is the pancreas. Pancreas, this organ has two, is important in two body systems. One is the endocrine system that produces the major one is the insulin that you probably already know. It's also an important organ for the digestive system that it produces a lot of enzyme to help us to digest the food. So you can see that this pancreas basically has a ducts. This ducts opens to this is the intestine, and so basically that this digestive enzyme will be guided into this intestine, and here they act. They help our body to digest all sorts of food, proteins, carbohydrates, and so it helps our body to digest food. In addition to that, we also has the cells here, alpha cell, beta cells, gamma cells to produce hormones. These hormones are not going to produce down here, not going to lead down here, because hormones, by definition, the endocrine hormone, by definition, is to go into the blood and circulate in the body. So they basically here produce and go into the blood and circulate in the body. So pancreas has two types of the gland. It's an endocrine system, it's also a digestive system. So if we do the transaction, we can see that in the pancreas, we have, here is the called acini. Acini, you can see that each of these epithelium cells, they produce the enzyme down here. This basically is tubule, and they flow here, the flow to these ducts and go into the intestine. So these acini are part of the digestive system. In addition to this acini, we also have this group of cells called islets of Langerhans. And these cells are not going to lead into the ducts and produce the hormone to like a designed location. They produce hormone and diffuse into the blood, and then they will affect the entire body. So this is part of the endocrine system that we are going to talk about today. In this islet of Langerhans, we have three types of the cell: alpha cell, beta cell, and delta cell. Each one produces different hormone. The major one is the beta cell. Beta cell is the most abundant cell in this islet of Langerhans. And the major hormone produced by the beta cell is the insulin. So here is all these three types of cells and their hormones produced from these cells. Again, here you will see, you can imagine that here we have a lot of quiz question. Alpha, beta, delta. Alpha produce the glucagon, beta produce the insulin as well as the amylin. Delta produce the somatostatin. Okay, the major one is the beta. 60% of the cells in the islet of Langerhans are beta cells. The major hormone is the insulin. Beta cell produce insulin and amylin in a ratio of about 100 to 1. And the next biggest portion is the alpha cell produce the glucagon, and the delta cell produce the somatostatin. Here, I also summarize their function, but we will talk about their function specifically. But just give you a, if we want to mention one thing about each of these hormones, glucagon, you need to know that it increases the plasma glucose level. So this function is very much similar like the cortisol. It increases the plasma glucose level, the glucose level in the blood. So glucagon has very similar function. It increases the plasma glucose level. Insulin is to reduce the blood glucose level. So basically this one will reflect to the eating, that if we eat, we have glucose level increase, then the insulin will push this extra glucose back to the cells. So it will help us to store glucose in the cell. Amylin is produced to inhibit the alpha cell to produce the glucagon. So we don't want these two to like fight to each other. So when beta cell produce insulin, about 1% of that hormone is to produce the amylin, and the amylin is to inhibit the alpha cell to produce glucagon. So that's the insulin and amylin. As for the somatostatin has a function for the inhibition, and that will inhibit the alpha cell to produce the glucagon, to inhibit the beta cell to produce the insulin and amylin. It can decrease the activity and the secretion by the gastrointestinal system. So basically this one slowing down our body's metabolism, kind of like slowing down the metabolism, not in the cellular level, but in the organ level. It inhibit alpha, inhibit beta, inhibit our GI system. Our digesting is slowing down. When our digesting is slowing down, the food stored remain in our stomachs and intestine. When we have food in there, we will eat less because we gonna feel full. We eat less. We digest this, slowing down the production of alpha and the beta. From the alpha and the beta will also slowing down. So that's the function of the somatostatin. So now you know. Now let's go into the detail in each one of those. So this is how beta cell produce insulin. Beta cell, this is the beta cell. Insulin is to reflect to the glucose in the blood. So how is the beta cell know it need to produce the insulin? The time to produce insulin basically is the time that when the blood has too much of the glucose. And how does the beta cell know it? It must have a way to detect the glucose level in the blood. So the way the beta cell does it is that in the beta cell, it has produced the channel for glucose. This channel is basically always open. Glucose can freely diffuse across. This glucose transporter is called GLUT2. So when the blood glucose level increase, over high concentration of the glucose in the blood will be diffused into the beta cell. When they diffuse into the beta cell, this glucose can be viewed as the fuel to produce ATP. It can be the glycolysis through this phosphorylated oxidation in the mitochondria to produce ATP. And this ATP will then act on a channel called ATP sensitive potassium channel to close it. When it's closed, because if this channel is not closed, cell has higher concentration of the potassium than the extracellular space. So we should already know that inside of the cell, the most abundant ion is the potassium. So if we have this channel here, potassium gonna leak out, and we do have some potassium leakage channel in the cell membrane in general. So when in the beta cell, we have this specialized potassium channel. This is the ATP sensitive potassium channel. So when the ABT increase, it will cause this closure. When the ATP sensitive potassium channel is closed, potassium cannot leak out, then potassium will remain in the cell. And is potassium positive or negative charged ion? It's positive, sorry. So when potassium is keep in the cell, then this positive charged ion will make the cell memory potential to increase because this is positive charged ion. And the memory potential increase will lead to the depolarization. Depolarization will cause the opening of the calcium channel. This one is very common in all like cells. Then calcium coming in will liberate these vesicles. These vesicles contains the insulin, and then insulin will, these vesicles will move near the membrane and to release the insulin into the blood. So that's how beta cell release insulin in response to the increase of the glucose in the blood. What you need to memorize here, you need to memorize this channel though, GLUT2. Later you will learn that we have two types of glucose transporter, GLUT2, and the other one is called GLUT4. GLUT2 is open basically all the time. GLUT4 is regulated by insulin. So we will learn that, but what you need to memorize here, maybe GLUT2 is something that you will see it in a quiz. So that's how our body, our beta cell release insulin when the blood glucose level is high. And if we measure the blood glucose level versus, okay, when we measure the plasma insulin after a meal, after we eat, when we eat, our carbohydrates is broken apart, glucose go into the blood, we very quickly has increased blood glucose level. And when we see that blood glucose level, and when we measure the insulin in the blood, we can see that insulin increase happens in two phases, not just one, it has two. So we see that about 5 minutes after a meal, very quickly our insulin increase, and that will help us to store this glucose into the cell. But this increase is not stable. It's only increase for a couple minutes and then it decreases. And then it increases again. So why do we have two phases of the insulin release after a meal? Why not one? Why do we have two? The reason is that when the beta cell detect the glucose level increase, these vesicles contains the insulin will provide the insulin into the blood. However, very quickly that they use all this preformed insulin stored in the vesicles. And so the beta cell need to produce another newly developed, that the new insulin to face the continuing increase of the glucose level. So we will see that following that, the first preformed insulin, we will see that a couple minutes later, we have the newly synthesized insulin produced from the beta cell. And this one will then, because beta cell now know that it needs to produce the insulin, the beta cell will work, and to continuously produce the insulin for 2-3 hours. So that's two phases of the insulin secretion after a meal. So how does insulin X function? How does insulin, what's the major function of the insulin? The insulin's function is to help the glucose stored in the cell. But how? I mean, how does insulin help the glucose to be stored in the cell? So the way insulin does it is to increase the glucose transporter 4. This glucose transporter 4, we only see this glucose transporter, not all other cells, not every cell, but we see this more abundant in two types of cells. One is the muscle cell, and the other one is the fat cell. So in the muscle cells and the fat cells, they will insulin these cells. If the insulin is released, insulin will act on the insulin receptor, and the insulin receptor will cause a reaction to, in this muscle cell and the adipocytes, inside of the cell, we have the glucose transporter 4 stored on the vesicles. So these are the vesicles. So they are there, but they are not in the cell membrane. Only when they are in the cell membrane, they can absorb glucose. If they are hiding inside of cell, they are not functional. Insulin can make them functional. So insulin will move these vesicles and to anchor this glucose transporter 4 to the cell membrane. And now, in the beginning, it only has one transporter to reabsorb glucose. After the insulin acts on the receptor, we have a lot more of this glucose transporter. And then these muscle cells and adipocytes will have the channel to reabsorb the glucose. And by increasing the amount of the GLUT4 in muscle and the adipocytes, insulin can allow this amount of the glucose to provide these glucose channels or doors to go into somewhere, to go into the cells. And in the muscle cells, muscle will convert the glucose into the glycogen and store it. So glucose has space to go. It will never be over like too much of the glucose, because glucose is gonna be converted into the glycogen and stored. If not, we also have the fat cells. The adipocytes will convert this glucose into the triglyceride and stored in the adipocytes. So glucose has space to go. You don't need to worry that you eat too much, because whatever you eat, insulin will open the door, glucose has the space to go. It's not going to be wasted. It will go into the adipocyte and store as these triglycerides, store as your fat. And if you see your fat, you will know that you eat, and they are not wasted because they are stored in your adipocyte. And the door to allow the glucose go into your adipocytes is this GLUT4. this GLT4 usually is not appeared on the cell membrane unless insulin acts on it. So that's how insulin to promote the storage of the glucose inside of the cell. So you need to keep in, what you need to know is that what's the channel GLUT4, because this is very unique insulin dependent glucose transporter. So that's one thing, GLUT4, this number you need to memorize. And what cells? Adipocytes and the muscle cells. In the muscle cells, it's converted into the glycogen. In the fat cells, in the adipocytes, it's converted into the triglyceride. So you need to know this. So this one summarizes what we just said. Insulin acts on the muscle cells and the adipocytes. In the muscle cells and in both cells, it will increase the amount of the GLUT4. So this is glucose transporter 4. This is unique in the way that this is the insulin dependent. If there's no insulin, this GLUT4 will be retracted back to the cell, and they are not. Then they cannot transport glucose. If there's insulin, this GLUT4 will be promoted, will be stimulated to move them into the cell membrane to allow them to reabsorb the glucose. Here I show you the muscle and the adipocytes. You need to know that in the muscle, glucose will be converted to the glycogen. In the adipocytes, the glucose is going to be converted into the triglyceride. So the same picture I showed you before. Here I just show you that in the adipocytes, this is the fat cell, we have this GLUT4 transporter. This is an insulin-dependent glucose transporter. And one thing you need to know is that these adipocytes can convert the glucose into the triglyceride. So this fat cell is very, very powerful in a way that they are very unique. That is, if you look at this adipocyte, you can see that this is amazing, that the entire cell doesn't do anything else, but it does a lot of other things. But the major thing is to store these triglycerides. You see this space. So when you say, if you go to store, buy a lot of stuff, the food, you need to find a place to store it. You need a refrigerator, something like that. And you will be worried that things will be spoiled or anything like that. But in our body, we have very beautiful design that they can be glucose, can be converted to something quite stable and in our body for a long time. So that is the adipocytes, and that is this triglyceride. This is the glycogen. In the muscle cells, glucose can be converted to the glycogen. So you can see glycogen is the polysaccharide. Each of these dots is a glucose, okay? Now, in the liver, insulin also acts on the liver. In the liver, it helps the liver to convert the glucose into the glycogen. So glucose can take up by the liver cells, the hepatocytes, via GLUT2. So this is not an insulin-dependent GLUT2. This one is the same glucose transporter we see in the beta cells. But the insulin can help to promote the production of the glycogen. So here I summarize the glucose transporter. Basically, that we only mentioned 2 and 4. 2 is we see it in the beta cell as well as in the liver cells. 2 is not insulin dependent. 4 is insulin dependent. Overall, our body has 14 type of glucose transporter, GLUT 1 to 14. And 4 is the one that is insulin dependent. We see it in the adipocytes as well as the muscle cells. GLUT2, we see it in the beta cell and liver cells. GLUT3 is the major one in the neuronal cells. And so we know that neuronal cells it's not insulin dependent, and neuronal cells, the major fuel to provide the function of the neuron is the glucose, and they basically go through the GLUT3 and go into the neuron. So what do you need to memorize? 4 is the major one. You must memorize that the insulin-dependent glucose transporter is GLUT4. Okay, so the very basic question is, which one is insulin dependent? GLUT1, 2, 3, 4. You need to choose 4. Okay, and the 2 and 3. 2 is the second most important. You need to know that 2 is the glucose transporter. We see it in the beta cell as well as in the liver cell. 3, if you don't know, that's okay. I mean, it's good to know since I mentioned it here in the neuronal cells. So you should know that too. I probably won't quiz you with that, but I don't know. I mean, I have not making the quiz yet. Okay. All right, so that's the summary of that of the insulin. From the beta cell, it also produces another hormone that is called amylin. Amylin is also called islet amyloid polypeptide, and this is co-secreted with insulin from the beta cells in the ratio of 100 to 1. The function of the amylin is to inhibit the alpha cell to produce the glucagon. It also slowing the gastric emptying, so it will make we feel full. It means that when you eat, you have a lot of glucose in the blood. It will trigger the beta cells to help us to store this glucose. Amylin help us to kind of tell us that we are full, right? Promote the satiety that we feel is full, inhibit the glucagon secretion from our cells. Because glucagon counteracts to the insulin. Glucagon released from the alpha cells, its function is to, instead of to move the glucose into the cell, glucagon do opposite thing. It works to increase the glucose in the blood. So that's why do we need that? This usually happens when we are fasting, like when we don't eat, when we don't have enough glucose in the blood. And that basically affects our brain the most, because brain require almost like solely require on the glucose. So brain needs, the neuronal cells need glucose. When glucose level is low, then it affects our brain function. And we need to maintain the glucose level in a certain level, and the glucagon will be released to bring the glucose level back to the normal level. Another hormone is called somatostatin. This one is produced from the delta cell, and this one basically inhibits everybody else. It will inhibit the alpha cell to reduce production of the glucagon, inhibit the beta cell, to produce insulin. It can also reduce the GI system. And the way it does this is to act on this parietal cells. This is the cell in the stomach. This cell produces the acid, the HCl, and that help us to digest protein, digest food. And so the somatostatin will also inhibit the production of these parietal cells and to slow down the digestive process. So this figure showing you the interaction of beta cell, alpha cell, and the delta cell to each other. So beta cell will release insulin, and it will also release a little bit like amylin to inhibit the red line is the inhibition to inhibit the alpha cell to produce glucagon. Alpha cell will produce the glucagon, and that will increase the production of the beta cell, because when glucagon release glucose, glucagon will increase the blood glucose level in order to maintain the blood glucose level, and that will, in the same time, it will inhibit the beta cell in order to prevent the counteract effects. Glucagon will also glucagon will increase the blood glucose level, and the blood glucose level, when blood glucose level increase, beta cell will detect it, and the beta cell, so that will also stimulate the beta cell to induce the insulin. Glucagon will also increase the blood glucose level. In the same time, it will also activate the somatostatin to inhibit it, kind of like a negative feedback, in order to prevent the overproduction of the glucagon. Delta cell produce the somatostatin to inhibit both alpha and beta cells. So that's the interaction between these three cells. An important issue related to the pancreas is the high prevalence of this type 2 diabetes in our society. So you can see this is an old data. This is up to 2010. This is 2020 already. You can see the gradual increase of the diabetes in the United States. We have about, let's look, here is the data. We have about 8.3% population in the United States have the diabetes. For people who are older than 65 years old has the diabetes. So this is very common in our society, and the consequence of diabetes is if we don't control it, the consequence can affect a lot of our organs. The major organ that been affected is the cardiovascular system, because the hyperglycemia will eventually alter the function of the endothelium cell in the vessel. And that will cause the vascular disease and reduce the circulation. And so the consequence is to affect a lot more the cardiovascular disease. And we know that cardiovascular disease in the heart is related to heart disease and is related to the stroke. Heart disease and the stroke are the top, like, two of the leading cause of death in the America. So diabetes is quite it's very important in our society. So since we learned about the pancreas, let's get some basic idea about the diabetes. So diabetes has two types. One is type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is the one that the patient has the low production of the insulin. So basically this is caused by the disease to damage the beta cell. And so this could be the autoimmune disease that antibody acts on the beta cells to lead to the inflammation and immune reaction to kill these beta cells. When beta cells are reduced, then insulin reduced, we have no insulin, glucose remain in the blood, leading to hyperglycemia and leading to diabetes. So that is type 1. Type 2 is different. Type 2 is the increase of insulin resistance. That means that beta cells function normal, it releases insulin. However, this insulin cannot, our body is not sensitive to the insulin. So even though insulin is increased, insulin is released, most of all those muscle cells and the adipocytes do not respond to it. And in consequence is that we still have the hyperglycemia, insulin continue increase. We have both hyperinsulinemia and hyperglycemia in the body. And the type 2 is the most common one. Basically, this is a metabolic disease that we either eat too much or lack of the exercise and mess up with our body. We become less sensitive to the insulin, and the consequence is the continuing increase of the hyperglycemia, and in the end, we basically cannot control it to develop the disease called diabetes. So that's these two types. Type 1 is a damage to the beta cells. This usually happens to the younger generation, that patients continuously have this beta cell damage, and we don't know until it becomes obvious that so the cells continuously lost, but our body can still handle it. However, by age about 14 years old, then these damage become too much, and the body has too little insulin, and the patient will develop the hyperglycemia that's noticeable or detectable, and become, and that's why we call it the juvenile diabetes mellitus. There are 3 stages. One is the increase the hyperglycemia, and but we don't have the insulin, so the cells cannot have this GLT4 to use this glucose, and so the cells will start to use other fuel instead of the glucose. They will start to use the fat cells for as a fuel, as a source of the fuel for the energy use. Cholesterol will also be formed by the liver. And in the end, we use the fat, but it's not enough. Body will also use the protein. So basically, this is 3 stage that glucose first, but these muscle cells, even though we have glucose in the blood, but the muscle cells and are starving because they don't have the insulin to open the GLT4. Muscle cells need to burn something, then there's no carbohydrates, then it turns into the fat, and then we use all the fat or most of the fat. It's not enough, then we start to use protein. So that's the 3 stage of the choice of the fuel in patients with type 1 diabetes. As for the type 2 diabetes, this is not a juvenile, this is the adult onset. So basically that the people initially are healthy, but due to the lifestyle, the lack of the exercise or eating unhealthy, and then the body reduce the insulin sensitivity, develop the insulin resistance. So we don't respond, our body don't respond to the insulin, then the patient will start to have the hyperinsulinemia, because the hyperglycemia will trigger the beta cell to produce even more insulin. Even though our sensitivity is reduced, the way that our body try to manage it is to produce even more insulin. So in the beginning, we probably have normal glucose level in the blood, but we have the hyperinsulinemia. And in the end, this hyperinsulinemia is not even enough. And then we will also develop the hyperglycemia. So that's these 2 types of diabetes. And that ends our lecture of the endocrine system. Let me know if you have any question. And that's it. Thank you so much.